WeRFreEDomFighters Tuesdays. This week we're going to be talking about why your voice is important. Yes, you and your voice. What you think, what you say, how you act, what you do, it's all important and it does have an impact on the world. And I think when we're trying to change something, we often put so much pressure on ourselves, like, oh my gosh, I have to change the world. Like, this whole thing is on my shoulders, when really it's not. But you can change something. Like, your voice is important. So I'm just going to talk about examples from my life and things I've learned, and hopefully you can get something out of it. One of the biggest examples I have is, I've mentioned it in other videos, but I have cerebral palsy, and because of that, when I went to school, parents weren't allowed to take their children out of special ed, and I was put in special ed because I have a physical disability. I don't have a problem learning. I don't have a learning disability, but I do have a physical one. And because of that, I was placed in a special needs class. And this went on from kindergarten to second grade. And I remember one day that my sister was reading a book. My mom was like, well, Brianna, it's your turn to read it. You read it. And I couldn't read it. And she, freaked out. And she's like, do they teach you to read? And I was like, no. I don't know how to read. They don't teach me. And she obviously freaked out. And her and my dad hired this mediator who came into the classroom and figured out that I shouldn't be there. And they, got a lawyer and filed a lawsuit against the school. And because of that, in my state, you're allowed to take your child out of special ed. And that didn't happen overnight, and it's not like my particular case allowed parents to take their child out of special ed immediately, but it did pave the road for that, and my case gave parents a loophole. It's like, well, you made an exception for this child, you have to make an exception for mine. And then my mom being my mom, after I started making straight A's, right after I got out of the special needs classroom, she, of course, sent them my report card in a lovely letter. But it goes to show you that, one or two people can change something. Maybe if that hadn't happened to me, you might not be able to take your child out of special ed. I might have still been in a special needs classroom. I might not have graduated from college. You never know. But your voice is important, and the fact that my parents believed me is also really important. And if you look at history, Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat on a bus on a cold January day and inspired Martin Luther King, who had a dream. Could you imagine, him not existing? He wouldn't have changed everything that he changed, and it could be very possible that we could be segregating people based on race. I don't think that I could live in a world like that. Susan B. Anthony decided she was going to vote in a presidential election, and today women can vote. Could you imagine not getting to vote because you were a woman? I can't. That would be terrible. But the thing this has in common is that one person started this. One person had the confidence to say, this isn't right. I don't want this. This has to change. And so they went with their gut and what they were feeling, and they went out and tried to change it. And if you look back in history, there were so many riots that went on because of change, and the process of change is really messy. For example, we're remodeling my store right now where I work, and it looks like a train wreck. And you could say, oh, it looked so much better before, now it's a mess. Why are they doing that? But the end result is going to be so beautiful. So when you're working to a goal, remember that change can be messy, but ultimately the end result's going to be better, so you should keep trying. The next time you're upset, you should examine that and think about why. Maybe it's something you can change. Maybe it's something you're holding yourself back from trying to change because you don't think that you can. You don't have the confidence to, or you think it's beyond you, or maybe you don't think you're worth it, but you are. And you don't have to change something big. Dakota Fanning is one of my favorite actresses, and I love two movies she was in. Charlotte's Web, for one. I'm sure you guys know the story of Charlotte's Web, but basically this little girl goes to her father's farm and notices that he's about to kill a pig, and she gets very upset. Dakota in the movie gets very upset, and she's like, this is an injustice. You can't kill the pig because he's small. And the father's trying to rationalize with her that the pig's small, that he's meaningless, but he's not her. And she begs him for it, and she begs him for it, and she gets it. So then she has this pig that she loves, and that may seem small, but it made her happy, and she stood up for that pig, and it probably gave her confidence, and really, it was a really good thing. I don't like the idea of killing animals. I definitely don't support that in any way. And, even little kids can change things. She was insistent that she was right, and she didn't give up. So, it doesn't have to be something huge that you change. You don't have to change the world, you can just change your world. There's so many things that you can do to change a situation. You can change your own reality. Arielle has a video about that, so you should check it out because it's awesome. Her videos are always awesome. But basically, never give up. The other movie I like that Dakota Fanning was in, Sean Penn was also in, it's called I Am Sam. And Sam is a man with learning disabilities that he basically gets a whore pregnant, and then she doesn't want the baby, so he ends up with a baby that he calls Lucy, and it's from the Beatles, Lucy in the Sky, so he calls her Lucy. But eventually, Child Services gets involved and says that he's an unfit parent because of his disability, so he has to go through this lawsuit and end up winning her back. And it's so heartwarming and it's so beautiful. So if you haven't seen that movie, check it out. It's I Am Sam. It's my favorite movie in the whole world. And what was really cool about that is I actually got to scan Dakota Fanning's groceries and tell her that I loved her movie. She's a really great person. So that's a really inspirational movie. Like if you're ever feeling like you can't do something, check that out. And the other reason I like the movie is that I fight my own wars with my disability. It's hard. A lot of times, and I'm not saying this for you to feel sorry for me. That's not the point. That's not where I'm going with this at all. But a lot of times, people with disabilities are not treated the way that they should be. They're not treated like regular people, and often they're not given the same rights as regular people. And some of this comes with employment. I need extra food, and I don't typically get that at work, and I have to fight for it. And so I feel like every day, I'm fighting for my rights at work and things like that, and it's really hard. And the other thing, I refer to it as the magical school bus on Twitter. So if you want to follow me on that, you'll hear about the magical school bus. But, I mean, it's Modern Mobility. I live in Georgia. You can Google that. But basically, it's just this ride service for people with disabilities. And I think, honestly, they try, but they're always late, or they drop you off super early, or they pick you up super late, or there's never any consequences if they are late or you miss your appointments, and oh my gosh, that frustrates me. I'm not able to drive. I have a lot of perceptual issues. I wish I was able to. It isn't safe. I probably could, but I'm not confident in my ability to. My reaction time's slow. Whatever. It's not the best choice for me, so I don't drive for myself and for the safety of others. But I think that I should be, treated more fairly, that Modern Mobility should, not pick you up 3 hours before your appointment or pick you up 5 hours late when you get back. You should be able to get there and come back in a reasonable amount of time. When I see my therapist, it takes me 5 hours. I leave at 12 and I come back at 5. That's for one 50-minute appointment. And I that's just not right to me. I have other things to do. I have a job. I make videos. I'm making one now. I have a boyfriend. I have a dog. I have a family. I'm pretty normal. And I don't like the fact that they're wasting my time. So what I'm trying to do is find out if it's possible if I can like start my own company and do a better job, because I think I would do a better job than Modern Mobility, and I think that I could schedule it better, and I think that I could coordinate better, and I just think that I would do an amazing job because I've been in that situation and actually care. And I think it would make people with disabilities feel like they're worthy, because I think a lot of times, especially on that bus, like, you know, the drivers will say, well, you're lucky you get to go here. I'm like, no, you're lucky you have a job because I need you to take me here. I'm not lucky that I can't drive, that I have to ride this bus. No, you're lucky because you have a job because you have to take me. I don't see people with disabilities as less than, or, I don't know, as not equal citizens. They are. And everyone has different gifts and everyone has different limitations. And I constantly fight for rights of the disabled because we deserve them, and that's just something I'm going through right now, and I hope that I can start my own company. It seems really scary and not possible, but I know that it is, and I know that like I'm going to have to go through a lot of red tape to do it, and to essentially beat the government, because the government gives funding to this bus, so it's really hard to compete with a service that already has government funding, because obviously I'm not going to get that. Well, I could, maybe. But that's just something I'm going through right now, but I believe that I can change it if I want to. And it is an injustice the way people with disabilities are treated. It is an injustice that, you know, pigs are killed on farms. I don't like either of them. But you can change something. Your voice is important. And even if it's something that's hard to change, if you really want to, just keep working at it. It's all possible. I love you guys. Have a great week. See you next time. Bye.